So, could you introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing in your life?
I'm Shawn. I play guitar and I sing for Youth Brigade, and I run BYO with my brother Mark.
So maybe we should go 20 years back. So when you started the label, was the band first or the label first?
The band was first. Yeah. The band started 1980. And the label pretty much came because we had the band and we wanted to put records out. First the label. I mean, BYO was kind of an idea at first, just a bunch of friends getting together and trying to do different things. And we were promoting concerts, and we had a big house where everybody used to meet called Skinhead Manor. You know, it had a stage in the living room. We'd have parties with bands playing, and we were going to try and do a pirate radio station. Never got off the ground though. We had a vending machine, a Coke machine, but we put beer in it, and then we had a rehearsal studio there, and you know, it was just a crazy party house, and people would come from all over. And then in those days, people drove from as far north as Santa Barbara, which is about 100 miles, and as far south as San Diego, which is another little over 100 miles. So people would drive all the way up from those places to come to punk rock shows in LA. Now they have the shows in their own cities. They don't always have to drive to LA.
So were the first releases on BYO like Youth Brigade Records?
Yeah, the very first was a compilation called Someone's Gonna Get Their Head Kicked In. And it was the idea was, well, none of the band, you know, we weren't big enough to do our own album, but maybe we take some bands that are starting to get a name, like the Adolescents, and Bad Religion had already made a record, and Social Distortion had already made a record, and you know, we put some bands that had a little bit of recognition along with us, who was starting to get a bit of recognition, and Aggression from Oxnard, and then some bands that we really had never heard of at the time. The Joneses, who's from down in Huntington Beach, and Battalion of Saints from San Diego, and who was that it? Oh, the Blades. This band, the Blades, from Huntington Beach as well. So yeah, it was cool.
When you think of like you started the band fucking 23 years ago, but there's not so many releases out. What's the reason for that?
Because we end up spending most of our time doing the label, and so busy with that I mean, we took a break. I mean, we got together in 80, but we didn't actually release a record till 82. And then we were together till about end of 87, although we changed the name to the Brigade. And my brother, it was me and my two brothers in the band, but my brother Adam, the bass player, left the band, and after we toured in Europe in 84, he left the band the next year in 85 to go back to art school. So, you know, we were only together till 87. We broke up for about 2, 3, 4 years. And then we got back together in the 90s. So we put out more records in the 90s than we have in the 80s. But it just, you get so busy with the label that you just don't have time. We've been trying to write songs now for a while. So hopefully we have a record out in the fall.
Your brother Adam is back in the band now, is he?
Oh yeah, it's just the three of us.
Now you guys are getting ready for a European tour. You're leaving tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow we leave for just some US dates. The European tour's in June. That's 3 weeks. Tomorrow we're leaving to go to do some shows with Swinging Utters and Pistol Grip in Florida and Texas and New Orleans, Atlanta, Georgia, and then we come back in 2 weeks, and then we're here for a few weeks, and then we go out and do the West Coast with Swinging Utters, and then we come back here for a little bit, then we go in June to Europe. This time we're only going to play Germany, Italy, 1 or 2 gigs in Holland, and the Holidays in the Sun in England, and a show in London.
How does it affect on the label when you guys leave? You and your brother are like the main persons behind the label, so how do you think the label will run without you?
I have no idea. I think it's going to fall apart, be it as that now. We're really scared, right? We have a bunch of people working here, and they're more than capable of keeping things under control. But that's why I'm only going, 2 weeks, so we'll see. We'll see. 2 weeks, they can't ruin everything.
How do you feel about going to Europe, since like very close to Europe there's Iraq and there's crazy things happening at the moment? Do you think like well, it doesn't affect anything for Europe, but some US bands have been canceling their tours because of that. Did that come to your mind?
No, because we're Canadians, first of all, so we have nothing to do with this war. Yeah. Don't blame us. We're from Canada. And, you know, I think most people are intelligent enough to know that punk rockers have been protesting these kind of governments and the kind of things they stand for years and years and years. So, I mean, you can't, and not to mention, you can't blame the people of this country. I mean, you could blame them for being apathetic and stupid enough to allow this asshole to get elected. Or he wasn't even elected. Yeah. Not even the majority of people didn't vote for him. He didn't win the majority of vote, but you know, people didn't riot in the streets, which was kind of amazing to me that the guy just slid in there, and now he's doing this war, and it's just unbelievable. But yeah, I think people are smart enough to understand that it has nothing to do with the people of the country as much as it has to do with the government.
Yeah. As a band that is rather well known, do you think you can affect on the like opinions of the people, like with the things you say and do?
I mean, I think everybody's going to make their own decision, and that's the way it should be. I think all we can do is try to hopefully get people to think about stuff and question things and just talk about it. And if we can do that, I think we're accomplishing something. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's what we talk about in the music, and I think it's important that you speak out.
Yeah. When I look at you, you don't look that young anymore. Like, what keeps you going with all this? Like, most of the people in punk nowadays are really young. So, what's kept you in this all like this long?
Well, because it's something that I love to do. It's the life that we've been doing now for over 20 years. I mean, my brother Mark and I have been playing music since we were, 14, 15 years old, and running a label and helping new bands. I mean, it's great, and playing's just fun. We do it because we have a good time, and people seem to like it. We just played a show on Friday night in a place about 15 miles from here in Southgate, which is a pretty rough area. It's near Compton and South Central. It's not down near there, but it was a great show. It was this theater that is totally DIY. And these kids came out, like mostly Latino punk rock kids. We had 500 kids there, and they were almost all of them really young, high school kids. Some of them younger than that, and they went crazy. And all they want to hear is the old songs. Yeah. It's amazing. So as long as that is happening, it makes it worthwhile for us. So as long as we're having a good time and people seem to give a shit, and they show up and they want us to play, then we'll do it.
I've seen this film, Another State of Mind, that is from your first tour. Yeah. So what do you think you've learned during these years? Like, it seems to be quite messy sometimes. Like, it wasn't that organized, or things didn't go as you had planned. So
well, things don't always go the way you plan them. Yeah. And that's part of the fun about being on the road. Just the fun of life. Things aren't planned all the time, and things don't always happen the way you expect them, and you just roll with it, and however it happens, and you just deal with it. It was a fun tour. It was interesting. It was an experience. I mean, it doesn't happen like that so much anymore, but then again, look at Manifesto Jukebox tour of the U.S. Yeah. there was some similarities there. Yeah. It didn't break down as much, but the gigs were kind of suspicious here and there, right?
Yeah. When you face problems on the road, like what's the motivation for you to carry on? Like,
problems on the road these days are pretty minimal. Because also you have to remember that those days we were poor, we didn't have money, so if things broke down, it's a lot more difficult to deal with it. Now we can fix things usually.
You mentioned Manifesto Jukebox. They are on your label, and that's pretty much only Finnish band on BYO. So what's the reason you guys signed them on the label? How did it happen?
I got a CD in the mail from Yanni. I think somebody had mentioned him to me as well. Maybe, I think Shawn from Rugger Bugger. Yeah, he had mentioned him to me, I believe. And somebody else might have mentioned him to me. And I heard the CD and I really liked it. Because I'd been working with Leatherface, and I thought, these guys are great, except that the mix on the first record of the vocals was so low. I was thinking, oh man, this is what you can't hear the words. But it was great. So I was corresponding with Yanni and just hey, you'd be interested in putting a record out with us? And he said, yeah, so we did it. Yeah.
So how's the cooperation been with them?
It's been good. I mean, you know, they came out here and did a tour. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see them play because I was on the road, and when we got back, they came by and visited us. But I guess the tour had a few rough spots, to say the least. But you know, they learned from it, and they did all right. They didn't like lose a lot of money or anything, so I think they had a good time. And then they had problems with their European tour as well. Damn booking agents, man. But I think things are going well. We've sold okay. I'd like to sell more, and hopefully if they keep touring, you know, that's the thing. Just both they did these tours, but they were sort of unorganized, so it helps if we can help with the promotion and stuff.
So how do you feel about like I've been in the US one day so far, and I've seen so many so-called punk rockers around. You don't see that many of them in Europe, so do you think it's more like mainstream over here?
Yeah, I mean, it's more a fashion these days. I mean, come on, you see people with colored hair and piercings and tattoos. They're not always punk rockers anymore. You know, there's a lot of metal people and a lot of even ravers dress like this sometimes. So yeah, it's hard to say. And you know, there are some bands that I call them sort of boy bands. They're just like produced bands that are on major labels that they have the punk rock look. It's like somebody put the producer. It's what it seems to me. A producer put a band together, wrote some songs for them that sounded like Blink 182, and then dressed them up what they see at the in the magazines and then they call them a punk band, but to me they have nothing to do with punk rock. So but I think, hey, if the kids go and they see these bands and they start thinking, oh well, punk rock, and they start researching and finding other bands, and they go and they find bands like us that have something to say, then that's a good thing. I mean, I'd much rather see them listen to these fake boy band punk rock bands than the boy band pop bands, which are horrible.
What were the bands you found first and got into about punk?
Punk bands, because when I grew up, I was listening to Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. But the punk bands, I mean, first thing I remember was I heard, and not necessarily that he's a punk rocker, but I heard Elvis Costello on the radio. They played his whole album, and they're like, oh, this is something new from England, from this guy named Elvis Costello, and they played Miami's True. And I thought, wow, this is really good. And then I read an article when the Sex Pistols came to town. Well, they didn't come here. They played in San Francisco when they toured the U.S. And when I read that article about the Pistols, I was like, wow, this is great. So we went and saw the Dickies, actually, was the first punk rock band I saw live, and that was at the Whiskey in 1977. Or, no, 77? 78. And they just blew us away. They were amazing.
Do you get like a lot of response from the kids nowadays, like telling that you've been like changing their lives?
Yeah, I get a lot of kids, they see the movie and they listen to the band and the old stuff, and I think we still inspire people, and that's a good thing. And we're helping the bands that we work with learn how to hopefully earn a living off of playing their music. That's the idea.
We talked about this mainstream thing a bit before. Like, how do you feel about was it better when you started, like when things were a lot harder to find, or do you see it like positive that the things are more organized?
That it's more mainstream, that it's huge and people are making money. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about making money, because I get to make money off of doing something I love instead of having to work a job for doing something I could care less about, which is a good thing. But I mean, comparison wise, sure, it was when we started, it was something new. We were just making it up as we went along, So it was pretty exciting when you walk down the street and you see somebody who looked like a punk rocker. That was your friend, You didn't know him, but already you had a bond right there. And now it's like everybody walks around, like you said, you walk around and everybody's dressing like this. It's like, I don't even know if they're a punk rocker or not. There's good and bad about it. I mean, sure, there was excitement in those days, but you weren't going to make a living off of this stuff. You were lucky if you did a tour and broke even.
Did it take a long time for you guys when you started to do this as a full-time job?
Yeah, we never took any money from this until the last like 6 or 7 years. Yeah, we always ran it out of our house or apartment where we were living, so we'd use a little bit of money to help pay the rent, and that was about it. Other than that, we never took any money. We didn't make enough money to, you know.
What's the releases that what are the releases that you are most proud of? Like, there must be some like some that you feel about more than the others. So what are the ones on the for the band or the label, like, that are most your children?
I don't really think about it like that, but I mean, you know, I think the classic stuff that we put out, you know, our all of the Youth Brigade records, especially Single California, which everyone really likes. That's a great record. And 7 Seconds, the first 2 records especially, are classics. SNFU, I mean, I love them. Those are classic stuff too, for the early stuff. And then in the later, like the split we did with the Swingin' Utters, I really like a lot. And the Leatherface Hot Water Music split's amazing. Actually, that whole split series now is just really doing well, and it's a great thing. And being lucky enough to be able to work with Leatherface that's a pretty amazing thing. But we got so many good new bands, you know. I mean, Pistol Grip and The Unseen and The Forgotten, and, you know, working with Manifesto Jukebox is great too. And we just signed this band Throw Rag, and I mean, our roster's doing pretty good. We got a lot of good bands. So
this split with the No Effects and Rancid must be doing really well.
Yeah, we sold almost 200,000 copies. It's the best record we've ever had by far. It was like an anniversary present to us for our 20-year anniversary. It was the best year we've ever had.
You must have been losing bands for the other labels, like bigger or smaller. How does it feel like when you've been working for the band and they just decide to change the label without asking from you?
Well, no, they talk to us. You know, two bands come to mind, would be the Bouncing Souls and Hepcat. But, you know, our motivating factor here is not about making money. It's about helping a band because we like their music and we think we can help them. And my feeling is, if we do a good job for them and they feel that they need to move on, all I want is for them to be happy and to succeed. And if that's what they want to do, I mean, I may not agree that we can't do as well as the other label, but if that's what they want to do, I mean, I'm friends with Bouncing Souls. Hepcat left. We weren't real happy about it because their manager just tried to do some stupid things and make us seem like bad guys, even though she wrote a contract up that basically stated if they leave, they have to, you know, buy out their contract because they still owed us a record. And I think the manager told the band some stuff that made us look like bad guys, but only one of them actually had a problem. The other guys were like, hey, we read the contract, we signed the contract, that's what it says, that's fair. But other than that, we haven't really had any problems. And unfortunately, I think the biggest problem is that a lot of musicians just don't want to understand business. And I try to teach them business because I say, look, I'm a musician and I've done all the things that you're doing. I've been on those tours. I've played almost all those clubs you're playing. You know, I can tell you what to expect and how to do this and show you how to keep books and how to do it yourself, and don't let other people come in and try and tell you stuff. It's like, take our advice, you know, don't work with that person because it's gonna, in the end, you're gonna regret it. And if they listen to us, I'm not saying that they should only do what we do, but at least think about the advice we're giving you and talk to other bands, and, you know, and the ones that do take our advice, like the Bouncing Souls, are doing really well. They listen to us, and even though they left the label, they're doing really well, and, you know, they're our buddies, and we're happy for them.
Did you go to some business school, or have you learned everything like hard way?
Oh yeah, totally the hard way. I was an English lit major. English literature is what I studied in college, and I dropped out because I had to book the tour to Europe in '84. I never went back. I only have like 5 classes left to get the degree of it. But it's not going to change my life to do it, so what's the point? You know. But no, I've never taken a business class. I have no idea. We just sort of we've been doing business since we were little kids. You know, we used to rake leaves in the fall and shovel snow and, you know, sell lemonade on the corner, whatever we could do to make some money. When I was in first year in high school, I was watching the kids on the elementary school. Like I was the supervisor on the playground before school, and then after school I was working at a health food store stocking the shelves. And so we've always worked, and we were drug dealing in school, high school, and making money off of that while we held down real jobs as a cover.
Yeah.
So, you know, business is business. It's pretty simple stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, supply and demand. You figure out profit margin. It's not that difficult to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess you have a really busy day, so I won't keep you much longer. But can you tell some plans for the band and for the label that's going to happen maybe this year?
Well, the label's really busy right now. I'll tell you all the bands that we've got. We got new Pistol Grip record comes out tomorrow, actually, in the stores. Manic Hispanics coming out in May. This band Throw Rag that we just signed, and then the new Unseen record. Both of those bands have records out in June. Mm-hmm. We picked up a business record. It's going to come out in the summer sometime. Yeah, we're trying to work on the next split. We've talked to a bunch of different bands and got some people interested, but nothing for sure yet. Who else? We've got some other things that we're talking about, but nothing for sure. Yeah, Youth Brigade's working on new stuff. We signed the Belltones, but only Bill is left in the Belltones as the rest of the band quit after the tour of Europe. So he's got to find some new band members. Yeah. One Man Army's record is doing great, and they're out on the road, and Pistol Grip's on the road, and everybody's on the road. The Forgotten will be going back out on the road. We're going to be on the road a bunch. Throw Rag's out on the road with Flog and Molly right now, and then they're going out with the Super Suckers, and then Reverend Heart and Heat. Everybody's super busy. Just a couple band. One Man Army's on half of the Warped Tour, and so is the Unseen, which is a Warped Tour. Have you heard of that? It's a huge tour out here in the summertime. It's like the big tour since Lollapalooza went down a few years back. Yeah. So just keeping busy with that, and the band working on a record, doing touring. Yeah. Keep busy. Real busy. So
when can we expect to see new Youth Brigade album out?
Well, the idea is we're going to write some songs and play them out on these dates. Well, we got one. We actually, in the summertime, we were working on stuff. So we have about 10 song ideas down on tape, but they need to be worked out, and I got to write some words and just work on melodies and shit. So hopefully these 2 weeks we'll fuck around with a few more, and then when we get back for a few weeks, then we'll really try to nail down about 10-12 songs and play them out live. And then when we come back at the end of June, hopefully be able to go in the studio in July and get something out for the fall. That's the idea. We'll see. We hope.
And then the tour that will bring you to Finland.
Yeah, I mean, I hope if we do get the record happening, then I would hope to be doing a tour of Europe again in the fall, possibly. So we'll know, and when we get back from Europe in June, we'll have a better idea then if we're ready to do that. So if we can get a record out by October, then we could definitely do a tour around then.
That's good.
I'm hoping.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, and I wish you good luck with the BYO and the Youth Brigade.
Well, thanks a lot. Hopefully we'll be in Finland soon. I'd love to visit there. I hear there's lots of beautiful women there.
There is.
It's dark all winter long.
Yeah, the fall is really good time to come there. Really summer, depressing.
So I was in Norway on my birthday in May. That was crazy. We played at 11. It was still light out. I think it was dark for an hour and a half. That was pretty cool. You just never go to sleep. You just party all the time in the summer, huh?
That's how it is.
Yeah, I like that. You must have great festivals there in the summer, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Thank you.